In today's video, we're going to be checking out the Funko Pop animation Rick and Morty figure 177. This is Mr. Poopy Butthole. One would probably expect that this figure is fairly small, and you would be correct. If we include the hat, which obviously is sculpted in place, the figure is about 4 3/4 of an inch tall. He comes with a display stand as with all the other figures, but actually, he stands perfectly fine. He really doesn't need the display stand, unlike, say, the likes of Squanchy and even Rick that did need a stand. Mr. Poopy Butthole really doesn't actually need one. But for the purpose of displaying them, that they're all consistent to one another, I would display them with the clear stand. And just to point this out, as I've pointed it out before, the peg, the 2 pegs, varying in sizes on the display stand. So you have a much larger peg on this side and a much smaller peg on this side. So it will only fit the feet one way. As you can see, it won't fit that way, so we'll have to place it this way here. And just kind of apply a little bit of pressure. Plug that into place. There we go. Mr. Poopy Butthole, do like the expression on his face. I think it's got a little bit more personality, to be all honest, than the Funko figure version of Mr. Poopy Butthole. He does come with his little cane, and he comes with his little jar of pills. You can see right there in his hand. But I do like the expression on his face. It's comical, and I think it fits him perfectly. Apply a little pressure to get him better on that display stand. It comes with obviously a top hat too, rimmed in kind of like an aquamarine blue, which as you can see is a little sloppy when it carries itself into the gray. It's a little splotchy right there, I have to admit. But the top hat for the most part is pretty decent. You can't remove it. Really nothing on Funko figures tend to be removable, nor can you remove the cane, nor can you remove the jar of pills. But he does have a little blue t-shirts, a darker pair of blue shorts, shoes, and white socks. For the most part, not too bad on the quality paint application here. It gets a little messy and a little dirty on the back of the legs there, where you can see just a little bit of like residue on the sides. It almost looks like the paint's kind of come off a little bit here. And unfortunately, some sad news. I've got like a little speck on the back of the head. That's actually how it came out of the packaging. By no means did I want you to think I went in and added that. I would have not done that. Panel lining is nicely done and clean around the mouth. And the black eyes, which is a carryover from basically most, if not all, the Funko vinyl figures, you've got them now halved. Kind of actually very similar to Morty, where the eyes are slightly cut off, giving a more distinct expression to his face. Elongated nose. And then you've got the mouth. It's actually to note as well, like the vinyl figures don't tend to have a lot of noses. And yet, funny enough, most of these, actually all the ones we've looked at so far, have a sculpted in nose, which I find is kind of interesting. Again, nice and clean. I don't really have any issues with him. He is a little smaller, of course, because that's how he is also in the show. Head rotates, and that's about it. I say that's about it. That is it. And luckily, the hand with the pills is not nearly close enough to his head that, as you can see, it doesn't clip his head when you're trying to rotate it back and forth. Just to kind of give you a size comparison to how he looks to the other ones. There's Bird Person. There's Squanchy. Still kind of leans forward, Squanchy. I'm just going to move these guys back a little bit. Here's Weaponized Morty. Weaponized Rick. That's what I've picked up so far. I still have to get Snowball. And I have to pick up Mr. Meeseeks. I'm really seeking out Mr. Meeseeks. It'd be funny if I'm kind of walking in the comic book store and I hear, "Here I am!" And then I look over, Mr. Meeseeks is right there. I'd probably be the store clerk doing that, kind of hiding behind the boxes. I'd say, "You sneaky gun. You sneaky guy." But again, like, these are fun. I know ultimately I'm not a big Funko Pop guy. I really am not. I've in the past, and I've said this a couple of times now, in the past I've really kind of said my lack of interest in pop vinyl figures and the fact that there's so many of them wherever you go. But clearly evident here by the fact that we're having a look at these, there are certain properties that I'm still more inclined to pick up. I like unique looking pop vinyl figures, or in this case, I love Rick and Morty, so all the more reason why I want to pick these ones up. It's so really interesting with all the cast of characters that appear in Rick and Morty that Mr. Poopy Butthole would appear not only as a pop vinyl figure that we're looking at right now, but it was also included in the first wave or snowball wave of the Funko Rick and Morty figures. It would be interesting to see what they maybe do with a second expansion, not only of the figure line, but also the pop vinyl figures. There's, again, tons and tons of different Rick and Morty characters that they could draw from if they ever choose to release them in plastic form. Reluctant initially to pick up a lot of these vinyl figures. Now, of course, you're seeing that I'm getting a little bit more inclined to wanting to pick up some of these, not all of them, but some of them specific to franchises that I'm a big fan of. Big fan of Rick and Morty, so I kind of did go and pick up these, and I probably will pick up more of them as they release them. Today, once again, we were having a look at the Funko Pop. This was Pop Animation Figure 177 from Rick and Morty. This was Mr. Poopy Butthole. We'll see if it gets demonetized based on name. Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. There's more videos. Tons more videos coming to this channel. If you haven't had yet a chance to subscribe, make sure you hit that little subscribe button down below. You won't miss a beat when it comes to future videos. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.